My girlfriend said, I need a creative sabbatical, no contact. Then her mother tagged her in art retreat photos with her college flame. I respected her journey, shipped all her belongings to her parents' estate, and changed my status to single. When she finally called, ready to talk, My name is Joel. I'm 31 years old, and I own a small antique shop in St. Paul, Minnesota. For the past 3 years, I've lived with my girlfriend, Tessa, in a cozy loft above my shop. We used to call it our little time capsule, filled with odd trinkets and treasures that made sense only to us. That was until that night, the night she told me she needed space. It was a Wednesday, and I'd closed up early because the cold had chased everyone off the streets. I walked up the stairs to our place and found Tessa sitting at the dining table, her laptop open, but her eyes glazed over. She didn't even look up when I came in. Hey, I said, hanging up my coat. You okay? She blinked, like she'd just noticed me. Yeah, I'm fine, but she didn't sound fine. There was something in her voice, a tremor that didn't match the calm expression on her face. I set down the bag of takeout I'd brought home. That your favorite? I said, trying to coax a smile. Chicken curry from that little spot you love. She didn't smile. She just closed her laptop and pushed it aside. Joel, I need to talk to you. My stomach dropped. I pulled out a chair across from her. Okay, what's going on? She took a deep breath, fingers fidgeting with the edge of the tablecloth. I need a break, a creative sabbatical. Just some time to figure things out. I stared at her, trying to process. A sabbatical? She nodded. Alone. No calls. No texts. Nothing. I felt the world slow down, like I just walked into a wall. Tessa, you're saying you're leaving? Just like that. It's not about you, she said quickly. It's me. I need to find my spark again. I tried to smile, to play the understanding boyfriend. Okay, so where will you go? With my cousin. In Duluth, she said, avoiding my eyes. I should have said something more, demanded answers, but I didn't. Instead, I just nodded, telling myself I'd respect her need for artistic space, even though every part of me was screaming that something deeper was at play. A couple of hours later, she had a duffel bag by the door. She kissed my cheek, said she'd be in touch when she was ready. I watched her walk out, feeling like a ghost in my own home. The door closed behind her, and for a long time, I just stood there, trying to catch my breath. All I could think was, this isn't just about art. This is about us. About something she wasn't ready to say out loud. But I told myself to let her go, to give her the space she claimed she needed. And that night, I slept alone in our loft, the quiet pressing in around me like the weight of all the things left unsaid. 10 days later, I woke up to the cold sun streaming through the window. It was a Saturday, the kind of day I'd usually spend in the shop, rearranging displays and chatting with the regulars who'd wander in. But I couldn't focus on antiques, not when the loft still smelled like Tessa's shampoo, and her favorite mug sat empty on the counter. That morning, I did what I hadn't let myself do since she left. I opened my laptop and logged into social media, just to check in. Scrolling through the usual noise, vacation photos, political rants, someone's dog in a sweater, my thumb stopped on a post that made my heart lurch. It was a photo album from the local artist collective's page. Marlena, Tessa's mother, had posted it. The first picture was a bright beach scene, waves crashing against rocks. The next was a group shot of artists gathered around a driftwood bonfire, wine glasses raised. And there, right in the center, was Tessa. She was laughing, head tilted back, eyes bright. Her hand was resting on the knee of a guy with messy curls and a half-finished tattoo sleeve. Evan. I remembered him from old college stories, the one who got away, the one she said was just a friend. Marlena's caption read, Reunions and Creative Synergy. So proud of my daughter and her fearless spirit. I didn't even feel the coffee cup in my hand slip and shatter on the floor. My mind was stuck on the photos, the way Tessa leaned into Evan, how they seemed locked in their own world. She looked happy, alive, like she'd found whatever spark she'd said she was missing, but it sure as hell wasn't in Duluth, and it definitely wasn't alone. My phone buzzed with notifications as the comments rolled in. So beautiful. You two look amazing. Love seeing old flames reconnect. It's like magic. I sat there for a long time, staring at the screen, feeling like the ground had shifted beneath me. The loft felt too small, too silent. I wanted to scream, to call her, to demand an explanation, but I didn't. Instead, I took a deep breath and closed the laptop. I grabbed a notebook from the shelf, the same one I used to keep track of sales and inventory. I flipped it open to a fresh page and started writing down everything I knew. The date she left, the name of the beach in the photos, the names of the people in the pictures. I documented every detail, not because I wanted to punish her. I wasn't even sure what I wanted, but I needed the truth, all of it. I needed to see it written out, clear and undeniable. I didn't text Tessa. I didn't call her. I didn't even tell my friends. I just kept working in my shop, fixing clocks and polishing brass candlesticks, pretending nothing had changed. But in the back of my mind, I was piecing together the story she wouldn't tell me. Every night, I sat in the loft, surrounded by antiques and memories of the life we built together, and I wrote. I documented everything, because if Tessa was rewriting her story, then I was going to keep the real one safe, even if it broke me. A week later, I woke up early, before the sun rose over the Mississippi. The loft was quiet, almost peaceful. I sat on the edge of the bed, looking around at the life Tessa and I had shared, the photos on the walls, the thrift store finds she'd insisted on bringing home, the small glass sculpture she'd made for me last Christmas. I realized in that moment that I didn't want any of it here anymore. I spent the next 3 days packing. No music, no podcast in the background, just the sound of packing tape, the crinkle of bubble wrap, the low hum of my thoughts. I went room by room, pulling every trace of her from the loft. The bright scarves draped over the couch, the delicate ceramic vases on the windowsill, the stack of sketchbooks under the coffee table. They all went into boxes. 14 boxes in total, each one carefully labeled, the contents meticulously listed. Tessa's glasswork, fragile. Tessa's clothes, winter. Tessa's art supplies. I took photos of every item before I packed it, just in case she tried to claim I'd broken something or kept something that wasn't mine. I didn't want any arguments. I wanted it to be clean, precise. A surgical removal. The last thing I packed was the custom planner she'd made me. She'd always said it was ugly, but I'd kept it anyway, because it was hers. I wrapped it in newspaper and set it in its own box. No special treatment, no sentimentality. When everything was packed, I loaded the boxes into my truck. I drove them out to Marlena's house in the suburbs, the same place she'd posted those photos from. It felt right, somehow, returning her daughter's things to the woman who'd watched her walk away. Marlena answered the door in a silk robe, her expression tight when she saw me. Joel, this is a surprise. I didn't smile. These are Tessa's. I figured she'd want them. She opened her mouth to say something, but I didn't let her. They're all documented. Nothing's missing. I'll send you the tracking numbers when I get back to the shop. Marlena looked like she wanted to argue, but then she just nodded. I'll make sure she gets them. I didn't wait for her to invite me in. I turned, got back in the truck, and drove away. Back at the loft, the emptiness felt like a fresh start. The air was clearer, the silence less suffocating. I took out my phone and changed my relationship status. Then I went through my contacts and blocked Tessa and her mother. I didn't do it to be cruel. I did it because I knew what would come next. The excuses, the pleas, the manipulations. I didn't want to hear them. I didn't want to feel like I had to forgive, or understand, or wait for her to come back. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself into the shop. I rearranged the window displays, started sleeping better, and spent long evenings talking with friends I hadn't seen in months. People noticed the difference. They'd say I looked lighter, more at ease. Maybe I did. Or maybe I was just done letting her chaos tangle up my life. Packing those boxes wasn't about revenge. It was about release. About turning the page and starting again, one carefully labeled box at a time. It was late on a Tuesday night, a month or so after I dropped off Tessa's things. I was closing up the antique shop, stacking some old National Geographic magazines near the window, when my phone buzzed. The number was unfamiliar, but I had a feeling. I almost didn't answer, but then I did. Hello, I said, my voice even calm. Joel? Tessa's voice was soft, almost tentative. It's me. I closed my eyes for a moment, feeling the old hurt stir in my chest. What do you want, Tessa? There was a pause. I'm ready to come home, she said. I know I messed up, and I'm sorry. I needed that time, but I'm done with it now. I want us again. I stared out the window at the streetlight flickering over the river. My voice was steady when I answered. There's no home to come back to, Tessa. She let out a shaky breath. What? Don't say that. It was just a break, just time apart. We needed it. I didn't argue. I didn't let her spin the story into something softer. I saw the photos, I said. You and Evan on the beach. The artist retreat with your mother. That's not time apart, Tessa. That's something else. Silence. I could almost hear her scrambling for words. Evan just happened to be there, she said. We reconnected, but it didn't mean anything. I didn't know how to tell you. You didn't know how to tell me? My voice was low, measured. You didn't tell me because you didn't want to. You wanted to be free to do whatever you wanted without thinking about how it would hurt me. She sniffed, like she was trying not to cry. It's not like that, Joel. It wasn't a real relationship. It was just a fling. I needed to see if there was still something there. But I know now it was nothing. I closed my eyes. You're rewriting what happened, Tessa. You're trying to paint over it like it was just a bump in the road. But it wasn't. You chose to lie. You chose to leave. I didn't lie, she insisted. I told you I needed space. Space. I let out a breath. You called it a creative sabbatical. You said you needed to rediscover yourself. You never said it was about Evan, or about anyone else. She went quiet again. Then her voice came back, smaller. Joel, please. I'm trying to fix this. I felt something inside me settle, like a final piece clicking into place. I don't need you to fix it, I said. I've already done that myself. I packed up everything you left behind and shipped it to your mother's house. I blocked you and Marlena. I started over. She gasped. You blocked me? I did, I said simply, because you were done with us a long time before you said the words. I'm just catching up now. She was crying now, her breath hitching in my ear. Joel, please, don't do this. I'm sorry. I'll make it right. I promise. I almost felt sorry for her, almost. But then I thought about those photos, about the way she looked at him, carefree and alive, while I was sitting here in our empty loft trying to figure out what had gone wrong. You can't make this right, Tessa, I said quietly. You can only live with what you did, and so can I. I hung up the phone and set it down on the counter. Outside, the street was empty and still, the only sound the distant echo of the river. I felt calm, not angry, not sad, just finished. For the first time in a long time, I knew exactly where I stood, and it wasn't with her. I should have known Marlena wouldn't stay silent. 2 days after Tessa's call, My phone rang while I was rearranging some Art Deco lamps in the shop. The caller ID flashed Marlena. For a second, I thought about ignoring it, about letting it go to voicemail like I'd done with Tessa's final messages. But some stubborn part of me wanted to hear what she'd say. "Hello," I answered flatly. "Joel," Marlena said, her voice low and cold, like she'd been holding on to her anger for days. "I need to talk to you about what happened with Tessa." I didn't say anything. I let her fill the silence. "You had no right," she said finally. "She came back to you because she realized what a mistake she'd made. She was vulnerable, and you shut her out." I leaned against the counter, letting her words wash over me. "She didn't just leave, Marlena," I said quietly. "She lied, and you know it." "She was fragile," Marlena snapped. "She didn't know what she wanted. Evan was just someone from her past. It didn't mean anything. She spent weeks with him," I said, "while she told me she needed creative space. You posted the proof yourself, remember?" Marlena's breath caught. "I don't know what you're talking about." "The beach photos," I said, my tone calm and even. "The ones you posted. The ones where she's wrapped around him like nothing else in the world existed." There was a long pause on the other end. "Those were just," she tried to start. "I've got them saved," I interrupted. "I've got tracking numbers for every box I sent you. I have inventory lists, photos of every item. You don't get to rewrite what happened." She fell silent for a moment, like she was weighing her next words. "You think you're being so clever, Joel, but you're being petty, small. Family forgives." I almost laughed. "Family? You mean the woman who lied to my face and the mother who tried to cover for her?" "You're making a mistake," Marlena said. "This doesn't have to be the end. She was going to come back. She still could come back." I closed my eyes. "I don't want her to come back, Marlena. I'm not interested in pretending any of this was okay." "You're going to regret this," she said finally, her voice low and bitter. "People will talk. They'll say you couldn't handle it, that you're cold and controlling." I almost smiled at that. "Let them talk. I've got the truth. I've got every piece of it, documented and boxed up." There was another pause. Then she scoffed. "Fine," she snapped. "Do what you want, but don't think this is over." "Oh, I know it's not over," I said calmly, "but it's over for me." And with that, I hung up. I blocked her number, just like I had Tessa's. My hand shook a little as I set the phone down, but it wasn't from fear. It was relief. The finality of it settled over me like a calm sea. I was done letting them spin their stories, done letting them pull me back into their web. I had the truth, and I had my peace. And that was enough. It was a Friday night when it happened. I just closed up the shop, ready to spend the evening at home with a takeout pizza and an old black and white film. The cold Minnesota air was biting, and I was fumbling for my keys when I saw them, Tessa and Marlena, standing on the stoop of my building. Tessa's eyes were red, like she'd been crying. Marlena looked furious, arms crossed, her lips pressed in a thin line. My stomach sank. I thought I was done with them. I thought I'd set my boundaries and moved on. "Joel," Tessa said, her voice trembling. "Can we please talk? Just for a minute." I took a slow breath and stayed calm. "There's nothing left to talk about, Tessa." She took a step forward, her duffel bag clutched like a lifeline. "Please, just let me explain. I made a mistake, and I'm so sorry. I've been so lost." Marlena cut in, her voice sharp. "This is your fault, Joel. You're being cruel. She's tried to come back, and you're shutting her out. That's not fair." I didn't move. I didn't let them inside. "You both made your choices," I said. "I've moved on." Tessa let out a choked sob. I thought you'd understand. I needed to find myself. I didn't think it would hurt you so much." "You didn't think it would hurt me?" I said, my voice quiet. "You left me in the middle of the night with nothing but excuses. And then you spent weeks with him." "It wasn't like that," she said desperately. It was just me trying to figure things out. I never stopped loving you." Marlena stepped forward, eyes flashing. "You're being controlling, Joel. She's your partner, and you're throwing her out like garbage." I met her gaze evenly. "No, I'm not throwing her out." She walked out. I just locked the door behind her. Tessa's shoulders shook as she cried. "Please, Joel, can we just go inside? Can we just talk?" I shook my head. "I changed the locks 2 weeks ago, Tessa. There's no going back." She looked like I'd slapped her. You changed the locks?" "Yes," I said, "because I needed to protect myself, and because I knew you'd come back, wanting to rewrite what happened." Marlena's lips curled. "You think you're so clever, don't you? She just needs help. She needs your support." I didn't even flinch. "She needs to take responsibility for what she did." Tessa's eyes darted to the planter by the door, the one she'd made in that first summer we'd lived together. "You still have that ugly planter," she whispered. I took a breath, reciting from memory. "It's in box 9, wrapped in newspaper, labeled Tessa's Garden Art, Fragile. Delivered to your mother's porch 3 weeks ago." Marlena's face turned red. "You're so petty, Joel. Do you think any of this will make you happy?" "It already has," I said evenly. Marlena's jaw tightened. "If you keep this up, people are going to find out what kind of man you really are. People will take sides." "Let them," I said calmly. "I've got tracking numbers, delivery receipts, and photo documentation of everything I returned to you. And every word of this, every threat, every accusation, I'm recording now." Tessa's eyes widened. "You're recording us?" I lifted my phone slightly, for my protection. Marlena's mouth twisted in fury. "You're a monster." I didn't reply. I just looked at her, then at Tessa, and then at the door behind me. "This is done," I said. "I'm done." I turned, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. I shut it behind me, the latch clicking into place. Their muffled voices trailed off as I leaned against the door, breathing out slow and steady. I didn't check the peephole. I didn't look back. I was done letting them turn my life into a stage for their drama. For the first time since she walked out, I felt like I was truly home, and no one was going to take that away from me again. A week later, I got a letter in the mail. Thick, cream-colored envelope. Formal-looking. My gut told me exactly who it was from before I even opened it. I sat at the kitchen table, the afternoon light filtering through the loft windows, and slit the envelope open with a letter opener. I unfolded the heavy paper and read the first line. This letter serves as notice of potential legal action against you for emotional damages and misappropriation of property. I almost laughed. I could see Tessa's hand in the words, or maybe Marlena's. The letter accused me of withholding personal effects and damaging emotional distress by refusing to let Tessa return. It sounded official, polite, even, but it was just another performance. I took a deep breath and picked up the phone. My lawyer, Anna, answered on the second ring. Joel, what's going on? I read her the letter, my voice calm. When I finished, there was a beat of silence. Then she let out a soft whistle. That's a lot of hot air, Joel. But don't worry, we're going to put this to bed. She sent a response the next day, a precise, clear rebuttal, laying out how Tessa had left of her own free will, how I had documented every item I'd shipped to her mother's house, how I had no obligation to let her back into my life. Anna included the tracking numbers, photos of the boxes, the screenshots of Tessa's beach retreat, every piece of evidence. She ended the letter with a warning. Any further attempts to harass or defame my client will result in a counterclaim for harassment and defamation. My client has no interest in rekindling this matter, and any further escalation will be met with legal action. I felt a weight lift from my chest as I read her final draft. This wasn't just me standing my ground. It was me drawing a line in the sand. The fallout was almost immediate. Word got out. Small town, big whispers. Neutral friends and old acquaintances started reaching out, wanting to know what was really going on. I didn't tell them much, just that Tessa had left and tried to spin a different story when she didn't get her way. But the truth had a way of slipping through. They'd seen the photos Marlena posted, the captions about creative synergy, the cozy beach shots with Evan. They started putting it together on their own. A couple of my friends from the antique collective, people I hadn't seen in months, stopped by the shop. One of them, Kara, gave me a hug. We heard what happened, she said quietly. You didn't deserve any of this. I know, I said, and I meant it. Meanwhile, the letter from my lawyer seemed to have the effect I hoped for. The phone calls stopped. The endless messages from Tessa and Marlena slowed to a trickle, then nothing at all. I went back to my routines, polishing silver, sorting old books, chatting with the retired couple who came in every Thursday for tea. My friends and customers looked at me differently. I could tell, not with pity, but with a kind of respect, like they saw that I wasn't going to let anyone rewrite my life. And me? I felt lighter than I had in years, because I'd stood up for myself, because I hadn't let them break me down, even when they tried to drag me into court. For the first time, it felt like I was no longer just reacting. I was in control, and I knew, no matter what they tried next, I was ready. A couple of weeks later, the fallout started to hit them hard. I didn't have to do a thing. Word got around, and people started to connect the dots on their own. It was a slow drip at first. I was in the shop one morning, restocking some old brass candlesticks, when Kara stopped by again. She leaned on the counter, eyes wide. Did you hear? She said quietly. Evan's gone. He bailed. Couldn't handle the drama, I guess. I didn't ask her to explain. I didn't need to. I just nodded, feeling a quiet sort of satisfaction settle in my chest. Later that day, I got a message from a mutual friend, someone who had always been on the sidelines, never taking sides. He wrote, Joel, it's all falling apart. Evan told Tessa he didn't want to be caught up in her mess. She's back at her mom's, and she's not taking it well. I read the message twice and set my phone down. I wasn't surprised. I had known, deep down, that Evan wasn't built for this kind of drama. He liked the idea of Tessa, her wild spirit, her creative spark. But when it came to the fallout, he ran. I pictured Tessa back at Marlena's house, the boxes I'd sent her stacked in the corner, the same ones she'd thought she was too good for. She'd chosen her lie, and now she was stuck with it. And Marlena? Word was, she'd been trying to do damage control, spinning stories about how I was cold and vindictive. But people weren't buying it. Too many people had seen the beach photos, heard the stories about the artist retreat. They started asking questions. Questions she couldn't answer without showing the cracks in her own story. I didn't gloat. I didn't rub it in. But I watched, from a distance, as everything they tried to build on that lie started to crumble. One afternoon, a friend of Marlena's, an older woman who used to come into the shop for estate jewelry, stopped by. She looked around the shop, then gave me a small smile. I always liked you, Joel, she said. I think you handled this with more grace than they deserved. Thank you, I said softly, and I meant it. The best part? My life didn't feel small or lonely anymore. It felt like mine again. The quiet evenings, the steady days in the shop, the way the sun streamed through the front windows in the morning, it all felt cleaner, brighter. I didn't check Tessa's pages anymore. I didn't want to know what she was saying. I didn't care, because in the end, the truth didn't need me to defend it. It stood on its own, clear and simple, while all their stories fell apart. I went home that night, locked the door behind me, and sat on the couch with a glass of bourbon. I thought about the last few months, the lies, the heartbreak, the endless games, and I felt a calm I hadn't felt in years. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. I wasn't bracing for the next wave of chaos. I was done. And as I looked around my quiet, orderly loft, empty of Tessa's clutter, empty of her noise, I realized I liked it that way. I didn't need her apology. I didn't need her to come crawling back. I had everything I needed right here. Peace, quiet, and the knowledge that I'd walked away with my head held high. It's been a few months since everything fell apart. Since Tessa left. Since the phone call stopped. Since the boxes found their way back to her mother's house. I haven't heard from her or Marlena since that last, bitter call. And honestly, that's fine by me. I changed my phone number a few weeks back, just to make sure there wouldn't be any more middle-of-the-night voicemails. No more desperate messages disguised as apologies. It felt good, like wiping the last fingerprints off the glass. Life in the antique shop has gotten back to normal. Better than normal, actually. I've been pouring myself into my work, finding new pieces, meeting new customers. Some days, I'll catch myself laughing with a customer over an old clock or a chipped teacup, and it surprises me how easy it feels. I've started seeing someone new. Slowly, carefully. No big declarations, no rushing in head first. Her name is Mia, and she runs the coffee shop 2 doors down. We started talking about old postcards one afternoon, and somehow, it turned into more. I like how steady she is, how she doesn't pry or push. We're both a little cautious, but there's a sweetness to it. No pressure, no half-truths. Just 2 people figuring it out, 1 coffee at a time. Some nights, I still think about Tessa. Not because I miss her, I don't, but because I wonder how I let it all go on so long. How I didn't see the truth, even when it was right in front of me. I think about that sometimes, and I make a promise to myself. I won't let it happen again. I won't let anyone else decide who I am or what I deserve. I've kept a folder on my desk, labeled Tessa, Final. It has everything. The photos, the tracking numbers, the legal letters. I haven't looked at it in weeks, but I keep it, not out of spite or bitterness, but as a reminder of how easy it is to let someone else's lies slip in like poison. A reminder that I'm not that person anymore. The other night, I sat on the couch with a cup of tea, the loft quiet around me. I thought about the way Tessa used to fill every corner of this place, how her laughter used to echo off these walls. And I realized, it's just empty space now, and that's okay. I'm not waiting for an apology. I'm not waiting for closure. I'm not waiting for anything, because I have what I need right here. A quiet home, a shop full of stories, a woman who makes me laugh. My life isn't loud or flashy, but it's mine, and that's enough.